Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank, and this time we don't have a rapid fire review, primarily because I'm still trying to work out this Comixology app, because of yeah, yeah, busy with that. And so it's gonna go over Dark Knights of Steel issue 4, which I think is also kind of appropriate because this is the issue that sort of made me want to keep reading it. And oddly enough, if you recall, I said one of my biggest fears about this book was that going by the title and how the first issue started, this would all be about Batman. All right, and as much as I love Batman, as much as I love that emotionally stunted man, it gets a bit dull sometimes to see Batman kind of everywhere. But anyway, let's just dive into this story. So if you recall when we last left off, Alfred told Bruce like, "Yeah, I've got some stuff to tell you. Got some stuff to tell you about who you are, about your origins and how it sort of ties to everything else." So Alfred says, "So I saw the day when Jor-El and Lara, crashed on Earth or the planet, and for a good while everything was fine. They built a nice little cottage in the middle of nowhere. Didn't bother nobody, wouldn't mess with nobody. It was all good. And of course, they had their powers, they had their sun, everything was copacetic. Until they then saw, hey, look, there's a volcano erupting. They pointed out it's going to erupt within 2 days. And to Jor-El, this had to be interesting. Because if you recall, Krypton the main reason they had to leave Krypton was because he was trying to tell them, hey, there's this problem coming, we need to fix it, and no one listened, which is why they had to leave so they could be safe. So now they see a similar problem. Granted, it's a smaller scale, but the kingdom will suffer great losses if they don't do something about the volcano. So they decide let's do this anonymously. They wrote up a plan, what to do. Hey, such and such is going to erupt, and we got to fix it. And here's what you can do to avoid massive loss of life and casualties. So he goes undercover. He delivers it to the Wayne family's advisor, Alexander Luthor. But he was stubborn and prideful and had his own beliefs, followed the ancient scriptures and whatnot. So he just sort of said like, yeah, this is wrong. You're wrong. There we go. And so what happens? Hey, it's not getting better. Jor-El was like, what y'all doing? I gave y'all very specific instructions, Luthor. Why haven't you evacuated? And King Thomas, didn't know about this. Like, is this true, Luthor? He's like, no, sir. I read the ancient records. The mountain has always been angry and has never threatened us. I also consulted the stars. And Jor-El's like, the stars? You ask burning gaseous balls for their insight? Ugh, he ain't having it. He's like, not again, not again. And of course, it goes ba-boom. And he's like, okay, so what are we gonna do? The kingdom's gonna burn. Lara goes like, no, it won't burn. Not if we can help it, because we can help it. So Lara goes through and inadvertently reveals that, hey, she's got superpowers and whatnot as the guards fail to stop her. And she says, look, I know you're a good king, you're a wise king, so is Martha in terms of queen, and we need you to trust us. And to show you that I do trust you, she gives them Cal, gives them their baby. Great gesture of trust. So they go in and they do their superpower stuff. Very Roku versus the volcano if it was successful. And Alexander Luthor was banished from the kingdom, and then he came across a green rock. And yeah, in line with everything else that happens to Lex Luthor. Yeah, he got the green. So everything for the most part was fine in the kingdom. Thomas and Martha had forged a great friendship with Jor-El and Lara. However, the Kingdom of Storms found this out and is like, they will look like us. They will sound like us. They are not like us. They are demons. And he calls Constantine. So that leaves that story going through. And then we find out about what happened the night Bruce was conceived. And Alfred sort of points out, like, look, there was no scandalous affair. There was no unhappiness at home. There was no malice in what they did. Jor-El may have been an alien, but he was all too human. And when it came from Martha's angle, Jor-El was a god, basically. And Thomas, he gave all of himself to the kingdom. So it was one night, and, they came clean about it. There was no, hey, we should keep doing this, we should keep, like, no, we gotta come clean. Points to them, and it might not have survived had it not been for Bruce. Because one of the downsides of Thomas and Martha's quote unquote marriage, one of the downsides of Thomas and Martha's marriage was that Thomas was unable to father children. So in its own way, it sort of worked out for everybody. And Bruce's birth sort of brings everything together. The problem is, though, everyone knew that Thomas was unable to bear children, so publicly, Bruce is a bastard. He technically is anyway, but it creates its own sort of problem down the line, because Bruce cannot inherit because he's a bastard. How Game of Thrones. Actually, how just medieval society. Let's call it what it is. Everything was fine until that one day on the way to Amazon Island, they were attacked by the Green Man. The Green Man, the cruel Joker, the man once known as Alexander Luthor. And I'm thinking, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. We have Lex being driven out by Kryptonians, accessing what might as well be, it's a Green Lantern ring, obviously, but it's clearly something's wrong with it, or the powers just driven him insane, and he becomes the Joker. Lex becomes the Joker. I kind of love it, not gonna lie. But that night, and it was as a result of the attack, Thomas and Martha are killed. Like, they die. Martha's last act is to convince her and Jor-El to rule the kingdom. And she points out, but Bruce, like they may have hidden Bruce's parentage, like the real truth of it, but everyone knows that Thomas isn't his father. They will not accept a bastard as their monarch. But they will one day, because you, Lara, will convince them. The people already love you, and you are wise and strong, you are compassionate. They will welcome you as their new king and queen, protect the home until Bruce is ready to rule. And the people will be ready for him then. And above all else, please look after Bruce. Love our son. And it's a very tender moment. And all the story really is to point out is that, Bruce, your parents weren't perfect. Like, yeah, there was a thing. It happened. They moved past it. But always you were the forefront of what they wanted, of what they thought about. So Alfred really takes this moment to just sort of point out, like, look, you don't have to worry about not being worthy of your parents. They loved you no matter what. And they were far from perfect. No one's perfect. All we can do is the best we can. And right now, with Jor-El's murder, we're on the cusp of war. And as someone who survived the last war, I don't want to see that. And Alfred asks, do you have a plan? He's like, no, but I have a king. And that's how the comic ends. So this was fun. It just really was. So why did this issue make me say, we got to talk about this? Well, because Bruce is just he's very much a background character in the story here. Like, everything that happens is sort of like, yeah, this happened. Bruce is an illegitimate child. That's kind of it. Like, there's other stuff going on here. Like, Kal-El and Zara. Kal and Zara, Jor-El and Lara's actual children. They're still here. They're still major players. Exactly what will happen to the Kingdom of Storms, what the Kingdom of Storms position is going to be now that Zara has killed not just the king's son, but the king himself. Where that's going to go. How Diana is going to try to find a way to stop the war from coming. What role the Green Man is playing in here. Even more so, what the magical or supernatural beings that Bruce had locked up in the castle dungeon, what role they're going to play. This is all really interesting stuff. And I think this issue just sort of told me, like, yeah, Bruce is just one player in this. He's an important player, but I think it's going to be clear he's not the major player. But he will have an important role to play. So, yeah, that's it. On a plus side, it was a good thing that there was only one story to review this week. because I've got like 2 to 3 other projects that I need to be working on. But anyway, with that in mind, if you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.